What's going on here?
Well, you know, every day we have to go back and look at things. Now, I swear, Steve, when I was growing up as a kid, um, I did not know that Pluto had such, look at this orbit, Steve.
Yeah, look at how much it deviates off the ecliptic, and I always thought it was right on the ecliptic with the other planets. And you see, the other planets are right on that plate with the sun. Every single other planet is on the plate, and just Pluto's the only one that slides off the plate. What's interesting about Pluto, too, by the way, is it's out by the Kuiper Belt, I believe, right?
I believe that's where it is.
Right on the edge of it. So, wow.
So I can't explain this. When I looked at this, I did not ever know that it had such a, what would we call this, an inclination of an orbit?
Right, and see, the reason why that's so interesting to us as amateur astronomers, guys, is because it indicates that Pluto's being influenced by the gravitational electromagnetic force of another object other than the sun.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to tell you something that makes
it, if it was in the toe of our sun, it would be on the ecliptic like all the other planets are.
It's very, very odd. I did not know this. And when I saw this, I went, what? Now, Steve, I know this is going to be a short segment, but I wanted to bring this up to you. There appears more and more, how should we say, evidence coming in that we may not be a part of the Milky Way at all. I read, I guess about 6 months ago, that someone had said, well, they thought that we would be more closer to between halfway into the Milky Way. Well, Steve, it doesn't appear that way. It appears that there is more and more evidence that our solar system may at one time have been part of Sagittarius. and so if you look at, if you look at the writings of what's been out there on Planet X, Nibiru, Nemesis, the Destroyer, no matter where you look at this, whether you're taking it from Sitchin's point of view or taking from someone like Gil Broussard or taking from someone like Mike Brown or Dr. Harrington, it does appear more and more, Steve, that it seems like these objects, right, all come out of where?
Sagittarius.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coincidence?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so either, my friend. And so I just thought that you would find this to be interesting. We'll leave the article, but here's something, folks, that you might want to think about as well, Steve. There is good indication. Good indication. And by the way, this article was written a couple of years ago. And I find it interesting when we can go back and look at these type of articles, Steve, that were written when a lot of this started taking place, right?
Yeah.
Guess what they said would be one of the telltale signs. The solar system would begin to heat up. What are we seeing today?
We're seeing heating up of the solar system, and that's from electromagnetic forces, by the way.
Look at here. It would have also a change in light intensity, of which we're seeing on all of this. And Steve, here's my point to this whole segment. This was written almost 2 years ago. Everything that I found in this article, you can go back and you have to go, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? So I just thought it was interesting that when we look at this and realize now that even the orbit of what once was, the 9th planet, I never knew that orbit was like that.
Well, and so now you can see what we mean by a perturbed orbit, and that's also why Neptune's got a little wobble to it. That's what they theorize. That's what Mike Brown says is the influence of Planet X. And
yeah.
So Mike Brown says it, you know, who everybody thinks is a shill, government shill. I don't care what you think. It's one of those things where you look at it and you go, yeah, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a conjecture of what we've been talking about, but, you know, as more and more information, and I don't know, Steve, if it's part of a slow moving train wreck that they're just getting us prepared for. I don't know if it's really that they don't know, or that we're just becoming more aware of the magnitude of the objects that really come by and are part of our solar system.
Right, and maybe I always have been, but here's the thing, man. It's right now that things are getting very, very interesting in terms of the corroboration between what people call Planet X or Nibiru or the brown dwarf solar system or whatever, and the evidence that we see. But you know, I struggle all the time to try to stay objective, and I just keep seeing piece after piece after piece just come together. And you know, it's time for us just to wake up and realize that there's more to what's going on, what we see with our, you know, through the mainstream media and through the academic channels.
I agree. And Steve, you know, I want to point out something else to people when we talk about dates, right? You know, everyone's trying to say dates. You know, I have been for the last 2 years seeing story after story recycle through Facebook and YouTube that, you know, the 3 days of darkness and NASA has confirmed it. You know, I don't know anything about that. What I do know is this, that the amnesia of the human species is so thorough that not even that which we think are ancient documents, which don't go back that far, there is no way that you could ever argue the case of an exact date. It's foolish. Because quite frankly, as what Mike Brown and his associate Bedgen, what they have found is that the Kuiper Belt is so filled with objects out there that it's almost impossible for us to even begin to fully understand what really is out here. And that's my point.
No, again, the Kuiper Belt, right? They're starting to think that there are brown dwarfs and talk scientifically that there are brown dwarfs all over in the Kuiper Belt. I'm like, what? What? Every day.
In fact, I read an article this weekend that to that very point, Steve, that said that our understanding of brown dwarfs is so in its beginning stages that the more and more that you have the theorists, the theoretical physicists who are working with the astrophysicists, right?
Yep.
That as they begin to merge their theories and their math formulas together through the photographic evidence of both, you know, the near station telescopes and to the satellites that we have now, like Voyager, that is now into the Kuiper Belt, into interstellar space, we're finding out that there is much more of abundance out there.
Right. Well,
these objects.
No, I was going to say, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, I'm just getting a little feedback. But the final point is that we don't know as much as we think we do. And I'm just going to leave it at that, Wayne.
Yeah, it's a big, big universe out there, folks. And I'll just finish out with the thought here. So in conclusion to this, what they have now come to believe is the case that virtually every red dwarf out there probably has a planet or planets orbiting it. And the other thing is this, we have to understand that it is no longer a theory, but becoming pretty much now accepted science, that within every star system, like ours is, you know, a yellow dwarf star, that there are rogue planets within each one of these systems. So let's stop and just do a little conjecturing, right? So if they're finding this to be the case, Steve, then this, our star, most likely has a rogue planet.
Right. Or maybe a couple.
Maybe a couple. And by the way, when we use the terminology rogue, it means it answers to no master, right? You don't know when one of these just may come sailing in.
Yeah, right.
So,
Just a random one. Right. I remember back in the 70s reading a newspaper article that a rogue planet did whip through our solar system. I just can't find the article. Maybe I was dreaming. I don't know.
no, I believe you are absolutely correct, sir. And I believe that article came out in the late 70s. So,
Thank you. And we'll try to find that article, but it was a rogue planet, went right through.
yep. So again, that's why when we say be kind to one another, is that you have to understand, you don't need to berate in language that is demeaning to all people. We're all learning here, Steve, and we understand how disorientating this can be. And again, I say if we